Now, we're getting more details about what happened at Monday's virtual US-China summit. A senior US official says talks between Presidents Joe Biden and Xi Jinping were a healthy debate. A readout from the White House says Mr. Biden raised human rights concerns over Xinjiang, Tibet, and Hong Kong. He also spoke about the need to protect US workers and industries from, quote, unfair Chinese trade and economic practices. Here's what Mr. Biden said was laid out at stake.
Our bilateral relationship evolves, seems to me will have a profound impact not only on our countries, but quite frankly, the rest of the world. I think it's important we communicate honestly and directly to one another about our priorities and our intentions.
Well, we're learning there more about the heated words about Taiwan as well. For the latest, Beijing Bureau Chief Xi Jinping is live in the Chinese capital. Will Ripley's in Taiwan for us as well. Will, if I could just start with you, because it is the sensitive topic here. It seems intractable as well. What did you learn in terms of progress on Taiwan?
Well, it is the #1 issue when it comes to U.S.-China relations from the Beijing perspective. I know Stephen could probably speak more to that. That from the mainland's perspective, Taiwan is an inseparable part of China. Here in Taipei, they feel very differently. They've had their own government and their own military for more than 70 years, since the end of China's civil war. They want to forge friendships, if not alliances, with countries that will acknowledge Taiwan as an independent, self-governed, you can't say country because China it's a red line for them, but in Taiwan, they call this island, this self-governing island, its own country, and they want to be recognized as such. But they fall short of declaring formal independence because they don't want to push Beijing over that red line that President Xi talked about in that readout with President Biden. China putting out much more explicit detail about the Taiwan issue, saying that essentially if the U.S. gets too close to Taiwan and tries to build a closer relationship with Taiwan, it's essentially playing with fire. And that Beijing has said, and they've reinforced this view repeatedly, they will respond if need be. But President Xi did say he hopes for what he calls a peaceful reunification, even though, again, the communist rulers in Beijing have never actually controlled this island since the end of China's civil war, but they still feel that they have the legal right to represent all of China, including Taiwan. So here in Taipei, of course, what they want to know, and they'll be meeting at the minister level with U.S. officials in the coming days to get a readout of what was actually discussed, because here in Taipei, they want a closer relationship with the United States. They're buying billions of dollars in weapons from the United States. And they don't want to be essentially, if U.S.-China ties were to warm back up, they don't want to feel like they did for many decades, which is essentially ignored, even as they made repeated complaints that they were, in their view, being bullied by Beijing. And of course, we've seen military intimidation with Chinese warplanes flying near Taiwan at a near record pace, and a lot of other things that have the leaders here on this island concerned, but they are quick to point out that they're talking to the United States, they're cooperating with the United States, there's military cooperation, hundreds of U.S. Service members, or at least civilian contractors brought in by the military, are here working with the Taiwanese military, helping this island continue to prepare to defend itself if things were to cross from rhetorical escalation to an actual conflict.
Okay, so Stephen, from China's perspective, they laid out again, really, didn't they, in this call, from what we know about it, the standard position. But what did we learn about the way that was presented to the United States?
That's right, Max. Taiwan is just among a series of sensitive issues the two leaders apparently discussed at length and in a very candid manner, according to both governments. But, in a way, both leaders very much stuck to their government's talking points with their officials, then cherry-picking the part that would sit best with their domestic audiences after the fact. For example, on Taiwan, the Chinese very much stressing Mr. Biden pledging to stick to the U.S. official policy of one China. But what they did not mention was Mr. Biden also said that policy was very much guided by the Taiwan Relations Act, as Will pointed out, that obligates the U.S. government to provide arms to the island to defend it itself. And then this is the case on many other issues as well. But the whole point of this meeting, even before it began, according to many, of course, was to put a floor on this free fall in this relationship, which obviously began long before Mr. Biden took office. But his decision to keep most of his predecessors' harsh China policies and measures, and also with him talking about building this coalition of willing, if you will, especially with like-minded democracies to counter a rising and increasingly aggressive China, obviously had not been sitting well with Xi Jinping and his government. So the fact that both men who did have a history of personal encounters were able to have some FaceTime was considered a positive step. And at least from what we had seen publicly, there seemed to be a softening in their tones. And here's what Xi Jinping said in his opening remarks.
We face multiple challenges together as the world's two largest economies and permanent members of the UN Security Council. China and the United States need to increase communication and cooperation. We should each run our domestic affairs well and at the same time shoulder our share of international responsibilities and work together to advance the noble cause of world peace and development.
So a lot of buzzwords being thrown around there, but no major breakthroughs as expected, because the whole point is also to keep this kind of high-level communications open to avoid strategic miscalculation from each other. And the concrete result actually out of this, Max, was now they have agreed to resume dialogue from lower-ranking officials to talk about potential resolutions on a series of issues. Given how low the bar was to begin with, that can be considered progress. Max?
That's good news. Stephen, thank you very much indeed. Will as well.